Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. This is episode 96. For real, an actual episode 96. My name is Evan Lewis. I am, of course, joined by Leo Andri.
You know, it's probably been at least 20 or 30 episodes since I've ruined your countdown at the beginning. I'm thinking it might be...
That's generous.
I think it might be time to f things up again.
You just did. Good job.
Anarchy! No, I meant with the countdown.
Oh, with the countdown.
I mean, throwing a swear word out there doesn't really count as things up.
Just making my life that much more colorful. So, I appreciate that. And you've already heard the dulcet tones of Joe Latovsky.
I wasn't aware that my tones were dulcet.
I think everyone's kind of fallen that range. I'm not sure what the higher and lower boundaries of dulcet are, but from what I can tell, everyone falls in that category.
So you're saying that these days the term dulcet describes a human voice?
Yes, voice. That's it, just voice. But I tell you whose voices we really enjoy hearing are patrons over at patreon.com/thejodocast. Those folks have the sweetest of voices. We enjoy hearing from all those people, and we really appreciate all they do for us, and we're always looking for cool new ways to say thank you to them. So if you'd like some information on what our Patreon is all about, you can over at patreon.com/thejodocast. If you want
to have a professional sidebar that I want your opinions on. When there's a really good segue, do you ever feel torn between pointing out that it's a segue that was really good, because then you've done what I've just done and derailed the whole show, but you don't want to not acknowledge it because it was really good, and you don't want people to feel like it was too cheesy and done super seriously? You know what I mean? That's where I find myself right now. Whether to acknowledge that great segue you made or keep my mouth shut and let things keep moving smoothly.
I mean, you've already shined the spotlight on it this time. In the future, I mean, maybe we can stop and just breathe in the greatness that is the segue.
Just savor it.
Yeah, just suck it in. But no, this time we will acknowledge the segue for what it is. And if you want to find out more about segues, or just anything else about us, you can over at jodocast.com, your home for all things segue, and Jodocast at jodocast.com. You can follow the links to get pretty much everywhere there. You can get to the Patreon, you can get to the Discord, which is kind of, I guess I would say, home number one these days of the activity and the buzz around the Jodocast.
Can we just call it home one instead of
home one?
Instead of home number one?
There you go. It sounds less like a bathroom code.
Yes.
Yeah.
My thoughts exactly.
But over at jodocast.com, there's something that we haven't talked enough about, and I find myself using on a regular basis, and that is our proprietary, homegrown, mom-and-pop Legion builder. I like that a lot.
My go-to Legion army builder. I've honestly, no joke, I've gone to tabletop.admiral.com, which I've used for decades for Imperial Assault Skirmish. And when I build Legion on there, I'm like, I'm going back to jodocast.com Legion Builder. Copy-paste better. That's my favorite thing about it. That's a feature I made sure you kept in there, or put in there.
That we what?
It copy-pastes nicely.
I thought you said taste. I want to
copy...
Yeah, that's what I thought you said, too. It's like, okay, we do taste better, sure.
It is the first website that you can taste.
Lick your screen, it's delicious.
It has a different flavor for if you're making a Rebel list or an Empire list.
I don't even know of any other builders. I mean, I know they're out there, but I don't even bother looking for them. I'm just like, you know what? What happens if I add these guys? I just go to jodocast.com. It's just that simple. It's just that easy. So, yes, go there. Leave us comments. Can they comment on that page? Is there a comment section for that page?
No.
No? Okay.
There is there's a link to the GitHub page for bug reporting, of which I know there's many. Most of them I'm already aware of. It's just
I've only ever seen one. I've only ever seen one, and I was like, "Hey, is this a thing?" And you're like, "I guess so."
Most of them have to do with like reloading saved lists and things like that. Sometimes some funny things happen. So.
Okay.
Well, I usually just whenever I build something on there, I paste it into our Discord chat right away, and I go, "Look at this list I made, everybody!" And then when I need to remember it later, I'll just open Discord back up and find it.
Hey, that works. See? Dual purpose. You can save your Legion lists on the Discord.
If I know people like sharing if you have a team for Armada, Imperial Assault, X-Wing, Legion, a deck for Destiny, whatever, our Discord is a place where you throw it down and you go, "What's up with this?" And we'll be like, "It looks great," or "Maybe you should think about changing this upgrade," or "Oh my god, have you played this game before?" I don't think we'd say that.
And I forgot to give a big thank you to someone who helps make all of this possible. Brand new patron, Kieran Simsky. Thank you so much for jumping on board the JodoCast train. Toot. There you go. See? We even got our own proprietary choo-choos. I don't know if that's a thing. But
proprietary choo-choos is a thing because we've talked about Freight Train Todd Haugen on this show before from Mandan, North Dakota. And
you're right.
I need to wonder if we can throw him $10 to take an audio sample of his choo-choo that we can play. Because there's a technique to it. He takes the microphone, tilts his head back, almost like he's slamming back a bottle of beer, and he goes, "Woo woo."
Can we get the rights to some of his video to use it in our YouTube videos? Get a freight train licensing deal going here.
These are all excellent questions that I leave up to the Fargo contingent.
Yes, you patrons can help make this happen with your support.
I'm sure that's what they signed up for. Maybe we can get him to leave a message on an answering machine, like on NPR.
Hey, this is the freight train Todd Haugen, and I'm leaving a message for the Jodo Kist.
Cats.
I'm not
Jodo Cats.
I mean, he would read his fan mail on that public access show, but bless his heart, he wasn't good at reading things on the spot. He'd have a little printed sheet of his Facebook page and all the nice comments people left him. Wonder if he's still on the air. I think I'm a fan on his Facebook page, and I think he still tours around the western part of the state.
This is riveting podcasting.
It sure is.
It's just such a fascinating thing to me, Freight Train Todd Haugen. When we discovered him late at night on the public access channel, is just karaoke in his basement, probably using a VHS recorder that he mailed into the TV station. I just still remember when he had his 9-year-old son sing Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, and I think his son was only capable of singing one note. Burn, 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 Ring of Fire. the whole song.
So now we've graduated
birthdays.
from picking on the freight train to picking on his kids now too. Jeez, Joe,
I know. I do honestly like they're doing something they love, and the community they do it for loves them and enjoys it. So I'm the person who's wrong here. I obviously don't know what's up because I love it in a different way. I love it in the way I love the holiday special.
Oh man! Wow, that's I don't know what that is. You are a Lumpy fan.
I mean, I acknowledge that I'm probably I wouldn't want to say these things to his face, and that's mean. Or maybe I need to go have some reflection. But he was a big part of my life for like a month. He stuck with me.
I mean, I would say more than just a
He
month.
was-
I mean, you still think about this guy. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, like how many
no
like,
other. There's
how
not
many
media-
like you know, really popular, successful TV shows out there are there, you know, that you've watched that you still think about as often as you think about Freight Train Todd Haugen, you know, like
not many.
well, Lost,
Maybe I need to think.
you know, like, well, Lost was on TV. Everyone was like, oh my God, Lost, what's up with the numbers and blah, blah, blah. But now that Lost is over, like, nobody talks about Lost ever. Nobody cares anymore. But you're still talking about Freight Train. So Freight
He
Train,
is
there you go. Freight Train Todd Haugen, more lasting power than Lost.
He's a cultural touchstone in my life.
So all that to say
thank you for help supporting us, Kieran. We're happy you're here. If you're still listening,
You haven't given up after 10 minutes of Todd Haugen talk.
well, to be fair,
Mhm.
I was kind of a Manchurian response after Evan mentioned the choo-choo whistle or something.
So it's my fault. Okay, fair enough. I'll take the
Whenever,
rap for that.
A train goes by and blows its whistle, I take off my imaginary cowboy hat and hold it to my chest and I salute. Because he always wears a cowboy hat, so you know.
I can see you laying in bed at night, and you hear the train going across the tracks. You turn to face the window. It's like the end of Christmas Story. Okay. Anyways, what we've been playing. I can't tell if that was fake or not. Leo.
Legion. Destiny. I think. Yeah.
What about X-Wing?
X-Wing.
X-Wing, right?
Yeah, X-Wing.
Wow.
Look at you.
What have you been? Anything particularly monumental across any of those? Have you been winning? Have you won the world championship already?
Yes.
What's going
No.
on?
Actually,
No?
I ran our first like tournament that we had at one of the stores here in Fargo. So that was pretty
You
cool.
ran it?
Yeah, well, I played in it, but I was also running it too.
Cool.
I've sort of like appointed myself as person in charge of the Legion community for our store here in Fargo.
That's awesome.
Because I felt like the store owner just wasn't scheduling events fast enough for my tastes. So I just sort of jumped in and took over it. And then later I messaged him. I was all like, "Hey, bro, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes or anything. I know I just sort of took over." And he's like, "No, it's fine. I mean, if you being enthusiastic and excited gets people playing the game, that's great. That's fine with me." And so we're good. But yeah, so I ran the tournament. I think we even had a few out of towners come too. I think we had 10 people show up for the tournament, or was it 12? 10 show up. So it's just,
That's great.
yeah, I mean, not too bad. I mean, it's not huge, but
That
It's-
seems big for a Legion tournament.
yeah, I mean, I've heard of smaller events in areas too. And I did not win though. I came really close. Actually, on one, I only lost one game, and the one I did lose, though, it all came down to basically one rally. If I rallied and got rid of my suppression, I would have won, but I did not, so that's the game, you know.
Yeah.
Brutal. But yeah, no, that was a ton of fun. It was a long it was a long day playing. We ended up being a 4-round tournament, so that's a lot of Destiny to cram into one day. Or I mean, a lot of Legion to cram into one day.
Yeah.
But it was still fun. You know, it was a nice change of pace from just our weekly leagues that we do. I wouldn't want to do it all the time. Like, I think we're planning on maybe doing one a season or something like that. But no, I enjoyed it. And Destiny, I did a draft here for the new set across the galaxy, or right? That's what it's called.
I think so.
And mostly got curb stomped, except for in one game. My deck finally did the things it was supposed to do, and like fired on all cylinders. And it was mostly just because I got like the perfect draws like the whole game, and I won. But I had a really bad draft. Like, I only ended up drafting like 4 dice cards or something like that, because everything I had was all just terrible, useless stuff that or it was like I started drafting a couple characters and stuff like that at the beginning, and then everything else I got passed to me was all the wrong colors. And then like one of the guys down, he ended up getting 4 legendaries, one of the guys on the other end of the table for my pod, so there you go. Yeah.
Ugh.
That seems to happen to me every time I draft. Is I never see any legendaries, and then there's always someone at my table who has a deck full of them. That's just my luck. And X-Wing's just been normal league game stuff. I'm still just playing silly lists that mostly just to fly ships that I never flew much in 1.0. Like my last game I flew, I had like, it was a TIE, the Reaper. I had a TIE Reaper, a TIE Phantom, and a TIE Advanced Prototype. And it wasn't that good, but it was good enough to win, so there we go.
I mean, good enough to win seems good enough. Well, that all sounds pretty dang awesome. Joe, what have you been up to?
I think since we last spoke, I've played Imperial Assault, trying to practice more for regionals coming up real soon, February 16th. Been playing X-Wing. I did a a Wave 2 championship tournament, which I went 1-4 at. Then I tweaked my list, and I went to the first week of a new casual Legion League full of mostly new players and players who aren't like super competitive like the other league, because the players in Tucson are real hardcore. But there was like a baby league that I went and joined, and it was really fun. And it was 2 games a night. You get a raffle ticket for showing up, and then you get a raffle ticket every time you win. And at the end of the league, apparently there's going to be like 1 prize for each player, and then your raffle ticket gets drawn, and you go pick one thing, and that's the one thing you get. So it's like, no matter how many tickets you get, you're still only going to get 1 prize, but if you win more, you'll be able to more likely, get first pick the thing you like more. So it seems that the intent is to be very, very casual and encourage people to just come learn or fly silly things, which I'm enjoying. I tried Lando, Dutch, and Jake for weird action shenanigans. So I've been having fun with X-Wing. Our Legion League is coming along. I think I'm 4-1 in Legion League. Next week is our last week of League. I've been really enjoying the new repair droids and medical droids for Legion. They've been doing a lot of work for me. So, yep, that's that. I've been playing the things. And Battlefront, I guess I've still been playing a fair amount of Battlefront. With you even, you were there.
Yes, that's one of the things that I've been playing, and I actually snuck in some extra time after that, too.
Oh, you played without me, even.
I did. Well, it was the middle of the day.
You were cheating on Joe?
by myself. Yes.
I'm just impressed because usually if Evan's playing Battlefront, it's because I was like pestering him for about a week. Like, you want to play? we should stream.
Yeah, no, but you think of it this way. That night that we played and streamed, it went so well, and I had such a favorable impression of it that I had to come back and play some more and try to level up so that I could be more useful to you next time.
Oh, it was all for me.
You know it.
I mean, Anakin comes out at the end of this month, so that's something.
Oh yeah, at the end of our night, I bought Obi-Wan, so that was
nice.
Pretty stoked for that, and just been working on leveling up my regular old classes on there, and actually made a lot of progress. And I had a couple of good games with Specialist. I was having a hard time with Specialist the night that we were playing. I think it was just the maps that we were doing were not good for it, but I'm starting to get a little bit better with it. I'm quite a long ways off from getting the last sniper rifle, but slowly but surely.
That's what
maybe by the time
going to be called.
Huh?
The last sniper rifle.
Oh, that's the title of episode 9? Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time Battlefront 3 comes out in an alternate reality in which they make Battlefront 3,
they gotta make Battlefront 3. It's not like they're making any other games.
What's his face comes Free Radical, like all of a sudden announces they've existed for the last 3 years and they've finished Battlefront 3 and they're releasing it even though they don't have the rights to. And everybody like rejoices, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop everyone from downloading it and passing around like the underground discs and stuff.
It's going to be shareware on 3.5-inch floppies. Just
it's
huge basically box of floppies.
And it's made so people can host their own servers, so like Disney can't even shut down, or in EA can't even shut down like any like centralized servers or anything like that. It's perfect.
I'm picturing like bootleggers running around the country passing out these discs, and there's like speakeasies, but it's like gamer cafes.
Is this Man in the High Castle? Now that's a Star Wars fan film I would watch. As long as you get the quote unquote approval from Disney.
Thought we should be more worried about getting the approval from Warner Records, so I mean they're the ones throwing copyright violations around.
No, it's Disney. Disney's evil. We hate them.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Ryan Johnson's probably the one filing those copyright suits. And Kathleen Kennedy, too. She just hangs out on YouTube all day long looking for people to screw over.
They have little like sleepovers where they're just sitting on their laptops like, oh, I found another one. Look at this one.
They all sleep over at Pablo Hidalgo's house. I like this fan fiction too. I would also watch that movie. Breakfast at Pablo's. And I've also been continuing to do lots and lots of painting. I finally got, I think I mentioned this last time, I got another box of Rebel Troopers and Stormtroopers, so I'm painting them up being a bit more creative this time with them, not just making them default colors. I'm finally breaking out of needing things to be exactly perfect to the box art. So that's pretty fun. Painting up stormtroopers to look like space wolves. And that's my cat scratching at the door. Get out of here, cat.
You know what? That's what I figured.
Yep. Now he's crying. Like, no, get out of here. We don't serve your kind here. That was too easy. It was low-hanging fruit. But, yeah, I'm hoping to actually play some Legion soon. We had 3 people for miniatures night the other night, and I was like, well, I don't have enough guys for 3-player Legion. So we did Kill Team, and that was a lot of fun. And hopefully,
probably not as fun as Legion would have been.
Well, I don't know. We'll actually, try to play by appropriate rules, because that's something that we run into a lot, I think, is that we're so eager to play that we get a lot of the rules wrong, and then we're left to wonder, like, why isn't X thing working the way that we think that it should? It's like, oh, well, that's not how that rule works.
Well, look, all you need to do next time
yes,
is
go on.
For about before the game even comes out, right? Spend not like 9 months watching every like demo video and like blurry image you can find of the rule books and things like that. And then just basically have all the rules down and memorized before the game even comes out. No problem.
Yeah, that's
that thought actually does cross my mind. I'm like, wow, Leo and Joe were really like getting every single rule down before the game was even here. What am I gonna do? Because I just play until something doesn't make sense, and then I have to, spend however long looking up the rule. And I'm like, oh, okay, well,
or you could just,
next time.
Sometimes I feel kind of bad, though.
Hit up the rule on Discord right away.
Sometimes I feel kind of bad, like, in our Legion League, because I'm probably the guy who takes the game the most seriously. I mean, like, I don't play, like, super competitively, like, try-hard dude, but, like, I know the rules, so I always try and make sure we're playing by the proper rules. So I'm always the guy who's during a game, and I'm like, well, actually, this is how it happens, or whatever. Especially, like, when it first came out, like, nobody could figure out how to do cover properly. And, like, I'd always be like, no, this is cover. Like this.
Cover is still a sticking point with a lot of people in our league. Most of the time, it's like, yeah, it's fine. But sometimes when there's weird angles, it's like, well, let's follow the steps, and this is how the steps are. And they're like, oh, okay.
I've also got to see about getting one of those nice full-size mats that you've linked me to multiple times, Leo.
They are nice.
Do you play at home?
Typically, or I roll up my various mats and take them to wherever. I just have a 3x3 grassy field mat right now.
Yeah.
So then we have to kind of cobble together the rest of it.
Yeah, those fat mats I linked you. That brand, they even sell them with a thing. You get like a carrying case tube thing to keep them in.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
like one of those art tubes.
Well, it's not rigid. It's just cloth, but
still, that's pretty good.
So
I like that.
Yeah, and it even has like a label on it, and then it says like what kind it is. So if you get mats for like multiple different terrains, so that way you can kind of have them all stored away, and it's really easy to tell which is which then. And
oh wow, okay, yeah, I've been eyeballing that website, so I'll probably get just one, not like the big giant bundle of every single possible terrain possible out there ever made. So yeah, that's me. That's what I've been doing. Sort of adjacent gaming. But we're gonna get a little hardcore tonight. Gonna get a little extreme with our conversation. Not really. That's a lie. But we're gonna talk about organized play. And I had actually tried to do this episode by myself. I was hoping that there'd be people calling in that I could bounce things off of, and it just turned into me ranting. Not surprising. So I'm hoping that you two will tell me what's what and why I shouldn't just be a fountain of rant over the changes coming.
Well,
for the sake of, because there's probably, in case there is, I'm not saying there is, there could be one person in the audience who says, what's organized play? And because I care about those people who are, feel like they should know things or something, it's just like officially supported tournament play type stuff.
Well, not even tournament play. It's even just like
siege
casual
league
play, league play, whatever.
It's essentially like prizes and structured for that sort of thing from Fantasy Flight itself.
And we've had a couple of articles come out over the past month.
Yeah.
The first one was the 11th of January, and that was kind of the one that kicked off everything. We kind of saw it coming over the past year. Like, we had some ideas that things were about to change, and they did. And then they also recently came up with another follow-up article on the 30th of January to help qualify and clarify what is going to be not just, hey, everything you knew is gone.
Well, I think we've been complaining about organized play even before that, and especially like the way they reorganized the X-Wing tournaments. I mean, there was some good things with what they did, but there was some other things, like the naming conventions were confusing as hell. Used to just be store champs, regionals, nationals, worlds,
continentals.
Yes. And then same thing, and then when the Legion came out, and then they announced how organized play was going to be set up for that, they kind of did the same thing where they had like goofy names for everything, and it's just all like, okay, sure. And I guess if you're only playing one game, it's not that bad. But if you're a person like me who likes to play multiple different of the games from Fantasy Flight, keeping track of it all, frankly, was starting to get to be a pain in the ass. It was nice when they were all they all had the same names, and then they started changing that, and that was...
And they had the same, season, too, like Store Championships was always in the spring or whatever.
Yeah. And then they had, and I don't know. It was like there was a very short period where I was all like, hey, organized play is on the right track, and then they really veered off. They veered off hard over like the last year or so. But then the article here at the beginning of January that Evan was talking about was ... This is your cue, Evan.
Oh, for referring to the January 11th article?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a couple articles came out that day that got my hackles up. But so they changed. I guess we should rerun this conversation back to 2016 when there were just one big world championship. There was one track, one season for every single game. And then they split it between Star Wars and non-Star Wars. and
which was fine.
Yeah,
I liked
Yeah,
that.
no, that was
Yeah.
actually a good idea.
And then I think it was Destiny that started it, right? Where it had kind of its own. But then they split off X-Wing onto its own thing.
Yeah, they split off
at that
X-Wing,
time.
but with when 2.0 came out, they announced that X-Wing was going to get split off into its own worlds, happening in like October or whatever instead of in the summer. But as far as we knew, there was still going to be
Everything else was going to be over the May 4th weekend.
Yep, exactly.
Which is cool for Star Wars. It's Star Wars Day. Play Star Wars games.
Yeah, it felt like it worked pretty well.
It felt like this kind of convention, and there was everyone was there to play all these different Star Wars games, and it was really neat. It was, so everybody there was fan of Star Wars and these games. And, I'm here for Armada. I'm here for the LCG, and everyone's like, oh, that's neat.
I thought it was I always thought it was a cool like community get together kind of thing.
So then this article from the 11th, it talks about how there's going to be March 2019 World Championships for Armada and Imperial Assault.
Well, technically, we found out about that ahead of time,
ago.
from non-Fantasy Flight stuff, because it all happened when the Adepticon events page went live, and then people were like, what the hell, there's Imperial Assault and Armada World Championships listed as events in these Adepticon events.
And that was,
there was
that was probably months before they officially said this.
Yeah, it took them forever to officially come out with something in this article.
And if anyone doesn't know, if you're listening to this, you almost certainly do know. But if you don't, Adepticon is held at the end of March in Illinois. And the previous World Championships that we've been lamenting were all at the Fantasy Flight Game Center in Minnesota. So Adepticon is a great place to have miniatures, games, and tournaments and everything, but for them to put the World Championship at Adepticon for 2 out of, half dozen Star Wars miniatures games now? Was surprising. And yes, they didn't really formally announce it. We saw it on the event schedule. So March of this year, Armada and Imperial Assault are at Adepticon. I'm not going to go into all the details of every single sentence of that paragraph, but then there's June World Championships, and that's for Legion. And that's going to be at the Fantasy Flight Game Center in Minnesota. And that's limited. It's highly exclusive, limited to the top 8 finishers from the High Command Invitational at Adepticon.
Yes.
So you have to go to Adepticon. You have to go to Illinois to win this tournament. Hit top 8.
Well, first you have to participate in a maximum firepower event, okay? And then from the maximum firepower event, you can qualify for the High Command Invitational.
Okay. And of course, these names are completely easy to keep track of.
Yes. It's going to be slightly less exclusive the next year, because there will be the High Command events are almost like the equivalent of nationals, I guess you could say. And now here for the 2019/2020 season, they will be planning on having high commands in other regions besides the U.S. So there will be more people at Worlds than just a single set of top 8, it sounds like, in future years. But anyways, back to this.
So that's June. That's the June World Championship for Legion, which is back to Minnesota. Now, in the fourth quarter of 2019 is when we're going to get the World Championship for both X-Wing and Destiny. And those details, as of this article at least, were not or have not yet been hammered out. I don't know if that's necessarily. I don't think that's been.
Right. I don't think there is. No.
Yeah, not much. Other than, I mean, they're both also invite only, so you're gonna have to win. I imagine an invitation through a regional or like a system open or something like that.
And how it had been, even during the every single FFG game ever World Championships, and after the split between Star Wars and not Star Wars, if you had won, like you just said, if you had won your way into the World Championship, great, you won your way in. But then it was still open to people who were on the money and, hit F5 enough times when looking to get tickets, right?
Yep. I mean, the thing, them making it all invite only, I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing ever, personally. I mean, I don't like it because, I know that means I'm not going to get to attend Worlds anymore. I feel like it would sting less, though, if they replaced the general Worlds with some sort of like, they kind of had their Star Wars over like the first weekend in May, so then it would always kind of fall right around May the 4th. I think that they should just do a similar thing, but like they used to do with Worlds, but just make it like a general like Star Wars game weekend kind of get together thing out at the Fantasy Flight Event Center. I mean, a Worlds type thing, but it's not actually Worlds. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Leave the if you get to the World Championship, you've worked your way there through all these other events. That's cool. That's really neat because you've got a track of competition you work your way through, which, like we were talking about with Legion, also does kind of mean like it's not just about skill, it's also about having the disposable income and free time to attend a lot of these events. Like, you got to go to Adepticon before you can even then plan to go to other worlds. But I agree. I think making it invite only is lame because we don't get to go to this big event and have fun, but it makes sense for the sake of competition.
And they still do just for fun weekends at FFG Game Center. It's not as if they don't do that. They did that for the end of Netrunner. They do that for Arkham Horror all the time. They used to do it for all their Game of Thrones stuff. I don't know if they do anymore.
I want something akin to Worlds where it makes sense for me to take time off of work and buy a plane ticket, where it's essentially, like a convention type atmosphere, but it's just people playing only these Star Wars games with, official support.
Yeah, I mean, for them to just have let's play Legion here at the event center this weekend, like, that's not quite what I'm, I mean, I want it to be a big to-do. Like I said, it's basically, I just want them to still basically have Worlds. Just don't call it that anymore.
Just something else. Some other big event.
But it's just been, like, I still can't get over the fact that we knew Imperial Assault and Armada was going to be at Adepticon for months, and then they have it in this article, and they're just like, and these are going to be at Adepticon, and it's like, we know. Like, they're pretending that they... And it's like maybe 2 months ahead of time, the official word comes. So people are like, oh, this is for real. Good thing, I got time to, budget in a trip and all this stuff. Because, most working adults need a lot of lead time to plan these things in their lives.
And then that same article went on to talk about non-Star Wars stuff, like Keyforge. I almost feel bad for disliking or not caring about Keyforge, because everyone else, when I ever go to the game store, is like, oh man, we're having so much fun. I'm like, okay, let's see what the lifespan's going to be on this one. And then the next section of that talks about living card games, of which now there are only 2 competitive living card games. What has happened in this world in which we only have 2?
What is it? Just Game of Thrones and Arkham Horror, or I mean,
L5R.
or L5R. Arkham Horror's not. They're not doing any like OP stuff for Arkham Horror.
That's a cooperative game.
Not
is it? Oh
yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It is. I've read that. That's right.
And they use the same picture of the same guy, like with his mats draped across his shoulders. I don't know who he is, but you know what? He's a world champion. He won. He's obviously a better human being than me because he won a world championship. But they use his that picture of him in the next article also.
Well, they reuse pictures from those events all the time. I mean, it's the reason why I've managed to sneak my way into like 5 different OP articles over the last few years.
So that one from the 11th was basically, hey, everything's changing. And we're like, okay, sure. And then on the 30th, they brought out the next article with some new header art for organized play. We're entering a new era. It's going to be so cool. So the future of organized play.
They have a new like head of that department now as well.
Well, a new one, yeah. Because the old guy, he left back in like December or November.
That sounds right.
It's like people don't like the Hyperspace Cup and the maximum firepower and the frizzy whiz bangs and the final leave. I'm assuming that's how it went. They're like, why couldn't we just stick with standardized names across all games? Like, that's not fun. The kids want fun.
We know what the kids want. They want fancy names for their games. They don't want to win a national. They want to win the Hyper Open Banger. I don't know. I don't know what a Hyper Open Banger is, but
you don't want to know.
I feel like there's a baseline
really
throughout the whole event. That's for sure.
Well, and you know, it is funny that you mention the former person in charge of organized play leaving, because we've known this was coming too, but Christian Peterson is also gone, and being a lurker of the Rune Wars forum on FFG's website, they certainly have thoughts about what Christian Peterson's departure means for FFG with regards to Terranoth and the world of Rune Wars and its adjacent games. But I mean, it could very well mean things like this were set to happen. You know, it's like Godfather 2. Don't kill Fredo until Mom's dead. So Christian Peterson leaves and everything changes.
Yeah, but I mean, some of this stuff is like, I mean, I don't think you can really blame, you know, the death of Rune Wars and Christian Peterson leaving. You blame it on the fact that you and 5 other people bought the game.
Yep. And one of them is also in chat with us now, so there you go.
Yeah,
I mean, 2/5 of the Rune Wars crowd right here.
I mean, you gotta wonder what sales on that really were like, because they killed it off pretty quick. Yeah, it had an even shorter lifespan than the LCG. Of course, the LCG was probably a lot cheaper to produce, so they could print in cardboard. I imagine is a lot easier than manufacturing minis. So.
All right. Well, I'm not going to get on that soapbox, but we'll talk about this next article. So the future of organized play, blah blah blah, seasonal kits and open play nights. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is a new kind of a new thing, but not really.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing, only so they're going to have what? So they're going to continue doing the seasonal kits for many games. I mean, they don't do them for all games, obviously, but for many of their games, they're going to continue doing the seasonal kits that stores can buy, and then use those for stuff for prizes for tournaments or leagues, you know, or whatever. One thing that is changing now is they've got the premium kits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they're called now, but it sounds like
that's exactly it.
Yeah, they're not going to come out. They're not going to come out as frequently. So maybe like once a, I don't know, once a quarter or once maybe twice a year or something like that. They haven't really said, but. And it's only going to be for select games, and it's going to basically, details are still thin, but it sounds like it's just basically going to have cooler prizes in it, which I imagine then stores would use for maybe a cooler, bigger event than just the normal seasonal kit stuff. So that change, I think, is definitely positive. I think... having more kits, more promos is always a good thing. I know, like, our store for Destiny, like all the guys we play Destiny with, we always go through all our kits pretty fast.
Yeah, we've been getting through all the Legion stuff really fast.
All right, so then the next section is a very nice clarification. And I did read somewhere else that this doesn't necessarily apply to all the games, but now I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because like the article like basically says that we're going to make this more consistent across all our games. But then for some of this stuff, it's like, well, I guess the main thing is like, so for the championship events, they're going back to giving everything standardized names. And according...
Which is what right now?
So now it's going to be store championships, which are much like the store championships we know and maybe love, I guess. Yeah, they're usually pretty fun. So yeah,
I think store championships are great. I'd hate it if we lost those.
But they're making one change, which is something they did with actually with the kind of like some of the Legion stuff. They had kind of started to do this already, but they're going to do it where a store can hold them twice a year instead of only once a year.
So there isn't like a season
per game
for store championship anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing they're going to basically split the year in half and say you can host one store championship during the first half and one store championship during the second half of the year. Is kind of what they're going to tell the stores. I would guess. Again, no evidence for this, but that's just my thinking. And then what we used to know as regional championships are now going to be called Prime Championships. I don't really know why they changed the name, but whatever, I guess. I mean, as long as it's...
Probably because you're going to find out like next week that Amazon bought Asmodee.
But I guess, I mean, the main thing is it's I mean, because regional championships were a nice descriptor. Okay, it's a championship for this region. But I guess at the same time, it sounds like they're changing them a little bit because it's they're just saying at select retailers. They're not necessarily saying that it's only like one store per state or something like that. So yeah, so we don't know what the qualifications are exactly, but Prime Championships, I guess the main thing is it's great that it's now going to once again be consistent across the board for all the games. And we don't have to remember the difference between Hyperspace Cups and Hyperspace Rallies and all that. Let's see, what do we got? Grand Championships are replacing Nationals. Yes, so high-level events that take place once a year per nation or territory. Let's see.
Which I've seen some people complain about because I've seen some people complain about the Grand Championship because it's one per nation, right?
Yeah.
So that's some people are saying that's not very fair to North Americans because you've got 3 spread between Canada, United States, and Mexico. And then if you live in Europe, you just like, oh, I'll drive 2 hours this way, go to Grand Championship. I'll drive 2 hours this way, go to Grand Championship. Pop over here.
Yeah. Deal with it. Move then.
Yeah.
Move to Europe.
But at the same time, there's going to probably be a lot more Prime Championships across America, you know?
Probably. I've got a hunch those will be popping up at very successful stores. That'll be the...
Well, yeah. Well, I know they'll probably be
those.
similar to regionals. I think, like, regionals, you know, there was, like you have to... Like, there used to be, like, I think, like, sales limit, like, stores that do a certain amount of sales and also could host X number of players. You have space for X number of players, then you could qualify for a regional. They'll have something similar, I would imagine, for this. But yeah, whoever wins a Prime Championship, the winner of a Prime Championship gets a seat at Worlds. Top 4 at the Grand Championships all get a seat at Worlds. There's also Continental Championships. So similar to the Grand Championships, except, they are across a whole continent, I guess. So, top 8 at those will go to Worlds. And then finally Worlds. So, like they say here for 2019, X-Wing and L5R are going to be invitation only. But by 2020, everything is all the rest of our games invitation only for Worlds. So fair enough, but you know, between Primes, Grands, Continentals, there is several chances for people to qualify. So, like I said, it's sad for me because it means I'll never go, but it definitely is going to make Worlds a much more of a competitive showcase.
Right. There aren't going to be people at Worlds anymore like me who are just like, I mean, if I do good, I do good, but I'm just here to, you know, have fun.
Yeah, there won't be guys like the one year I went to play X-Wing. All he did was he had like 5 interceptors, and he just kept doing the same set of moves. Like, he just kept doing this weird little dance like he just kept like doing right turns and then barrel rolling. So he spent the whole game just basically sitting in the same spot. And that's all he did. And then once I got close to him, he drove off the edge of the map, and that was the game. I was all like, why did you even come to Worlds if that is all you're gonna do?
What in the world?
And then he's like,
Worlds?
And then and then he like shakes my hand. He's all like, good game, man. I was all like, yeah, sure. That was a great game. I'm guessing he will not be at Worlds anymore.
Aw. But you know what? He had fun, and he can have fun at maybe some of the other events. Okay, so we covered the championship series, but now there's other
that's
events
why
too.
they need to have the Star Wars gaming weekend, so that guy can come and have his fun again.
I know I've mentioned it on our Discord. I'm going to mention it again. That's what JodoCon is going to be in 20 years when we are big enough to pull that off.
Yeah, someday, JodoCon.
Hey, you know what? All we got to do is get people to show up. Maybe that's what takes us up to the next level. We're at this level. We got to get to this level.
One day there's going to be some sort of douchey documentary movie about our rise to the top of the board gaming podcast.
I feel it would be sort of like, have you ever seen the movie Unicorn City?
What movie?
the movie Unicorn City. It's about this guy who he wants to get a job at. In the movie, they're called the warlocks of the seashore, or something like that. But yeah, so he wants to get a job there as a game designer, and so to like try and impress them, he tries to set up like this big like LARPing village thing called Unicorn City. And
maybe I have seen this. It sounds very familiar.
I think it's been brought up here before. I could be mistaken.
Anyways, it's a pretty funny movie. It's actually quite good. But yeah, hilarity ensues, and he fails horribly many times. And I feel like that would be us trying to run a convention. So, but hey, if any of our listeners out there have like, I don't know, like a big empty warehouse or maybe like a creepy shed we could host us in, let us know.
So the one thing, I don't know if we've touched on yet, that me personally, and I know a lot of other people are dying to find out, is Imperial Assault. Because a lot of people have been like, it's kind of in this dead zone right now where we haven't gotten any news since a long time. And this, Worlds thing in Adepticon feels like it's being shoved to the side almost. And we, beyond just knowing if the game itself is going to continue, we want to know, is organized play support for this game going to continue past Worlds in March? And
Imperial Assault is a game that was definitely not name dropped in this article at all.
No.
The thing I find weird is that there's no mention of Legion either, because especially in the bit where they talk about the open events, because several games have open events. Like there's the system opens for X-Wing, there's the galactic qualifiers for Destiny, the Kote things for L5R, and they are sort of like, they sort of run parallel to the rest of the organized play. I guess you could say they're sort of like their own enclosed system.
Yeah, they're sort of like what we were just pining for, but just kind of speckled here and there.
But some of the Legion events in the past had kind of been classified as sort of being equivalent to some of the open stuff, but not quite. I don't know, but so it's like, where's some of that stuff gonna fit in? I don't know. We'll see. I let's just say I'm looking forward to more information. I mean, this article is a step in the right direction. I like to see that they are getting back to sort of standardizing things, I guess, like they used to be. I sort of feel like this whole article was like a hey, we realized that we fucked everything up over like the last 2 years, so let's go back to the way things were for the most part.
Yeah, and I think they seem to have kept the thing that I think maybe was the best about the new system, which is, the store championship type stuff. It's not, okay, these 3 months is when store championships happen. It's just, you just get 2 a year. Go for it.
Yeah, I think that's going to make it even easier to go to multiple store championships in your area, because they're going to be a lot more spread out. Whereas like here now, sometimes, with there only being so many weekends that you can host a store championship on, there's invariably going to be some overlap. Like I know, I was going to go to a Destiny store championship in Bemidji, but they ended up canceling it because nobody came, because it was the same day as they were having a store championship in another town not too far away that everyone did end up going to. Whereas here, if you've got, a whole year or a whole 6 months or whatever to schedule, well, that's, gonna make it easier for players to get around to different stores.
That's kind of the gist of the rest of that second article. It just goes on to talk about how they're going to try to use their new global event managing software platform to better communicate with the stores. And I think that specifically speaks to a lot of the complaints. And again, we've said that a game shouldn't be judged on its quality by how or what they get at a competitive event, but for those competitive people, that's a big thing. Is it worth it to them to go to competitive events when they are, with the idea that I want to go win stuff at this event, and then it takes forever to get that stuff. Hopefully, this addresses that directly, because I know for the Destiny crowd, that's been one of the biggest things. I don't know how it's been for Legion.
I think the Destiny crowd,
or X-Wing 2.0 for that matter.
Honestly,
I mean, it's entirely possible. I don't know. I mean, I never had any trouble getting my consolation deck boxes or promo cards for LCG. So I'm not sure what things they've been waiting on that they haven't gotten.
Yeah, I don't know either, really.
But they have been kicking that off, this better communication line through the Keyforge organized play. And if anything needs to have it, it's that, their big new darling.
Yeah. For the moment, we'll see. I feel like we're going to go back and listen to these episodes a while later and be like, oh man, we were so dumb. But I still don't feel like that game is going to have the staying power. Like it's it's a flash in a pan. It's like whoosh, it's huge for the moment, but it's gonna burn itself out. And then everyone's gonna go like, whoa, what the hell am I gonna do with all these stupid Keyforge decks? It was dumb. I spent $2,000 on this deck. Like that one guy.
It can add another game to the Richard Garfield pile of games that didn't take off.
I would say he's got more good than bad, though. The man. I mean, even if he created Magic the Gathering and then everything he did after that was total, he would probably still be able to, that one win would outweigh everything else. But I mean, he's had Netrunner, he's had this Keyforge, he's had, King of Tokyo.
That's honestly what I associate with him most. King of Tokyo.
Oh, King of Tokyo? Yeah. I mean, he's just content to just be a math professor, I think.
I was gonna say, I think he's definitely not a public speaker. That we learned that at Gen Con.
It's really funny watching when him and Mark Rosewater are on a Magic panel together, because Rosewater is very gregarious and very talkative, and it's like, wow, these two guys, wow, all right, that's great. We got the mouth of Sauron right here. This is terrific. Anyways, the last bit of that second article was, hey, talk to us. They even have a feedback form, but I mean, most people are just going to get on Twitter and at FFGOP and say, hey, what's up with this? And to their credit, I think like FFG responds relatively well in their various departments on their various Twitter accounts. Probably not if you say, "Hey, why doesn't Qui-Gon have any focus on any version of him?" They probably won't, respond to those questions.
I laugh at. There's another one of the other like Legion blogs that I check out sometimes. He was putting together a like, this is how organized play for Legion works article to kind of lay it out for people, and then he put together a chart actually very similar to what's in the Fantasy Flight one, only it was like, there's the maximum fire powers, and there's the high command, and there's blah blah blah, and then he like emailed FFG OP and was all like, "Hey, look at this. Do I have this all right?" And this was the day before this article comes out, and they email him back and they're like, "Yep, looks good." And then he publishes the article, and then the very next day,
that's the one that I read.
Fantasy Flight's like, "Hey, we're changing everything," and the guy's like, "My life."
I mean, they're certainly working on it. It's not like they're sitting on a system that worked back when all they had was first edition Game of Thrones, and they're trying to just use an old broken system. They're trying to find something that works for everybody, which is good when we know the people that need to know how things are going to work, when we have the information. But it's like trying to get water from a stone sometimes. I don't know if that's a saying or not, but it is now.
Telling you, Fantasy Flight, Star Wars Gaming Weekend. You get that one for free.
I mean, we'll run it for you.
No.
For money.
No.
Not for free. No, we won't? Okay.
No, I don't want to. You've seen how big Worlds is. Do you really want to put up with all that? I don't.
If I get paid and a bunch of free stuff.
You had to pay me a lot to put up with that amount. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I've worked at PopCon. I had to corral the internet celebrity crowd.
Okay, there's a big difference between being, a low or mid-level, grunt guy, than being the person who's in charge of it all. I mean, not only do you have to wrangle other people, but you also have to wrangle your wranglers. I'm not talking.
No, I know.
You call Brett Favre for some help with that, and
I mean, it's always easy to get him to come up from Georgia, come back up to or Mississippi, back up to Minnesota, right? That's a thing he does.
Yeah. No, but it sounds like the exact opposite of fun to me. I've been a manager of like for teams and stuff in different jobs, and that's enough, and that was, like at the most, like I was a manager of like, 30 people. Okay. I mean, there's how many hundreds, thousands of people that would show up for this Star Wars weekend thing. That someone else can have that responsibility.
We'll just put you in charge of the art department for it, the graphic design for the for all the bits and bobs.
You put me in charge of choosing the drinks. I'll taste test them all. We'll have we'll judge them. We'll vet them. Have some focus groups to see which ones attendees might like the most. Which ones will get people the drunkest.
Great.
I mean
that is good info to have, honestly.
We want to make sure everyone's having fun.
So we've gone over the couple articles that we wanted to. And, the night that we were going to try to talk about the first article the first time was the night we, couldn't make anything happen. And we were like, well, it's just as well because we've got this new article to talk about. So hooray for double content. So I guess the question is, having talked about all that, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to really say about it because we can only...
I want to know if you both are optimistic about the future of organized play.
I'm more optimistic than I was, like the same time, or, like a year ago or so, and, well, I guess it wasn't quite the same time, but, a little bit less than a year ago when they started really changing stuff around, and it was just sort of like, what the f- are they doing? So they, there's that.
I'm glad that at a minimum we've still got something resembling the original track. So they're still going to have store championships because I'm not going to win a store championship, obviously.
Now with that attitude, you ain't.
I mean, you know what? If they had still done Rune Wars store championships, it probably would have come in second place because it would have been me and one other guy. But
you'd have to get your store to throw one first.
That's true. But I'm glad that we'll at least have that, as long as stores are still able to get those championships, because we've talked over the past few months about how it seems like, at least for Joe, finding the store champs, or was it, I don't know if it was store or regional, but you were having trouble find regional. Okay, well, in any event, you had issues finding one reasonably close by. I certainly had an issue when playing LCG of finding information about which store was going to have the store champ and the regional champ. And if nothing else, out of this whole hullabaloo, they at least have better communication of the geographic locations being accurate for these events.
I think the biggest thing that's going to change things is if stores do start using this global event manager, their gem software, and they mentioned that it's also going to power their store and event locators. If stores actually start using that and putting their events in there, so people can see them and find them, other than, just sort of like right now, it's just sort of like you just kind of troll around in Facebook groups for different gaming groups in your area and hope you find something, which is a really inefficient way to do things. I think that is going to be a huge boon for everybody. Stores and players and Fantasy Flight. And you guys probably didn't hear anything I said again.
I heard
no,
it was a good
I actually
speech.
heard it. I was just trying to formulate a response that wasn't just, yeah.
And cut. That's where the crowd cheers and you walk off stage. Cuts to freeze frames of each of us saying what happened to us in the next 10 years, 20 years.
Someone says, this is how organized play dies. I don't know. In any event,
I feel like, or it would be like, what was that show, Arrested Development, where it's like, it would be a huge boon for everybody, and then the narrator's just like, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Actually, that kind of seems like how it may be. It's like, hey, here's all the big changes. It's going to be great. It wasn't. I hope that at the very least, like I said, I just want to be able to tell much more easily where I need to be, when I need to be there to play a dang tournament. I don't have to, troll through Reddit or get on Facebook and be needling someone like, hey, it says that this is the store. When is it? Oh, we don't know yet, but it says so on the website. Yeah, well, don't know for sure. That happened multiple times for me, and it's like you wouldn't see that happen on a Wizards of the Coast event. That's all I'm saying.
Well, this also seems like it's a lack of commitment from your stores too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sure, that's possible too. But if they are having trouble communicating with FFG, and every time I've tried to talk to them about...
a lot of the things are with those events though. It's like it's on the stores to get back to FFG with when they want to do it. FFG is all like, here's the window when you can do it. Go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
this may assist in that.
I've talked to stores who are like, we were going to have a store championship that week. No, I think that's the other game. Try back in a week. We'll see if we're doing it then. I'm like, no, you're 60-minute drive south. I'm not going to drive down there if you don't know for sure when you're having this tournament. That's not how this works.
Yeah, like that's happened to me. Like our stores, when our stores here in Fargo have when they had their Destiny store championships, they were on point. They put dates out. They figured out a date. They put dates out. They had them. Like, I knew that Bemidji was going to be hosting a championship, so I tried to talk to the store owner. Oh, well, we're still working that out, and I kept asking the guy like once a week for 2 months before I finally got a date from him. And then, like he said, he went and scheduled it on the same day as another store nearby him, and then nobody came anyway. So,
oh my gosh. Well, have we exhausted our ranting?
In summary, we'll see in regards to all of this, and let us know if Imperial Assault Organized play is as dead as Rune Wars.
I don't think anything will ever be as dead as Rune Wars except
the LCG.
LCG, yes. And I'm convinced that
cut
LCG
in the soundbite of Malakili crying? And then the guy who goes, too bad, too bad.
I'm convinced the only reason that lasted as long as it did was Lucasfilm contracts. I think if it had been up to anybody else, that would have been long gone, long before.
It was probably just it was because they just kept it going because they needed a card game in the Star Wars slot, and they were still busy developing Destiny, so they just kept LCG just kept puttering along on life support until Destiny finally came out.
Yeah. Well, Destiny could have used a bit more time in the oven.
I'd say they're getting there with some of the stuff. Have you seen the downgrades now?
Oh yeah.
I like it. It makes it feel like there's more interaction between the two players.
Oh, good. That's certainly was lacking. More than just two guys punching each other in the middle of a box canyon. That's good. All right. So I guess in wrap up, like Joe was saying, what's everybody else's thoughts on this? Do you think this new system is going to make life better for people, or do you think it's just going to get wiped away next week or next year? Say again, over?
I said the old new system.
Yes, the old new system. And, but, along with that is that people can't just stroll up to Worlds anymore, which, like we've been saying this whole time, is a thing that was a lot of fun. And if anybody else has thoughts on that, on what they could do to just drum up fun days, basically. What are your thoughts on that? We want to hear, and if Fantasy Flight listens, they may say, "Oh, that's an interesting idea." They won't credit you at all. They'll just take your idea and run with it. But even then, that'd be cool. So, do we have anything else besides contribute to the GoFundMe for JodoCon? That's not a thing, I promise. I don't hear anybody, but I can't tell.
I want JodoCon. Yeah, we're putting it on the roadmap. 20 years from now, JodoCon's happening.
20 years. All right.
20 years from today, we'll look back on the day this was the genesis of JodoCon.
X-Wing 5.0
and LCG 3rd edition.
But it's just you, and you drew a little 3 on the box. Guys.
All right. Well, I think we've exhausted our brains for the evening, and I think our internet connections are telling us that we should wrap this up before we just devolve into going, hello, is anybody there? So we'll call it a night. Thank you to everyone who joined us in patron chat. It's always awesome to have you folks on. And I don't know, I'm gonna go to bed, but if these gentlemen want to stick around and do some chatting about all Mandalorian Legion armies as a possibility now in our Team Patron voice channel that is open to all patrons, and we just hang out there and say cool things to each other like, hey man, how's it going? You a patron? I'm a patron. Sweet.
Except for
not patriots, because patriots.
Except for you, John. Except for you, John. Because I still haven't got my Maz's goggles back.
Uh-oh.
Calling out one of our patrons. A thief.
Thief Baggins?
Yes.
Yeah, alright. But yes, y'all can stick around. You can jump into Team Patron, and we can all chit-chat, but I'm going to go to bed, because I feel sick, and it's late, and I'm tired, and I have to get up and do stuff, so...
All right.
Goodbye.
Good night, Evan.
Good night, everybody. I'm gonna go die in bed.
Don't? Yeah.